that are occurring across the world. And a lot of them, which I find very interesting, are anomalous. In some cases, there are YouTube videos out there where they actually see these, quote, fireballs changing direction as they enter into the atmosphere with two burning tails of fire coming out the back of them. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't recall ever seeing a shooting star or a video of a shooting star or a meteor entering our atmosphere that ever had two distinct, separate fire tails coming off the back end of it. And I surely haven't heard of one that changed direction as it was ascending into the atmosphere. So there are some creepy, weird stuff going on that is very apocalyptic and indicative. Don't even get me going, brother, on the strange apocalyptic sounds that are going on across the world. Speaking of sending you audio bites, let me see if I can find this one here. CZECH. I hope this one is the right one. Is it the Czech Republic one, or is it no, it's the Budapest one I want you to have. Hold on, let me see if I got the Budapest one.
While you're talking about that, and you were talking about the animal deaths and fish kills and birds, and this just a few days ago on my Facebook page, or on my blog actually, and I posted on my Facebook page over on www.gyradio.com, guys. You can go over to the blog page there, and I wrote about this, and you probably saw this, John, because just 50 miles from where I live, they said thousands of starfish dead on beach. Let me tell you what, there's millions. I looked at that video, and my wife and I almost drove over there, and then we thought, I don't want to drive 50 miles over there to look at dead starfish. But there was, it looks like you could walk on them. It looked like the beach was paved in these things. This is something that has been happening all over the planet with, sperm whales, 5 sperm whales. I'm not talking about little killer whales or some kind of whale. I'm talking about sperm whales that washed up on the beach. I was in Peru, England, sperm whales dead. All these birds falling out of the sky, bird kills, fish kills all over the place. This is it's ominous, isn't it? It's very telling to something's going on this planet. Is it when you talk about booms? Let me go here, and then let me go ahead and get this file real quick. But we here where we live in Panama City Beach, and just a couple of weeks ago, my wife was on the phone with her mom. Something shook the foundation where we live. We heard a boom. I thought something exploded. They can't figure out what it was, brother. It shook the whole house. They say, well, it could have been a sonic boom, but because there's a lot of military flights around here, but I don't know about that, because this felt like from the foundation up. This was strange. We heard it. You could hear it you could just hear it. It was crazy. I ran out to where she was in another room and said, what was that? She said, I don't know. Something blew up. But when we checked the news for even to now, they can't figure out what it was.
The crust of the earth is cracking. There's huge crevasses that are appearing. They have been for a long time. I have articles with photographs of gigantic crevasses breaking in the Earth's mantle and in the crust of the earth through fields in Michigan, going all the way back to when the Deepwater Horizon event was occurring. Right. These things are happening all over the world, and they have not stopped happening. We've got sinkholes, like unbelievable amounts of sinkholes, cars, trucks, groups of people vanishing through the sidewalk as they're walking down the road in Japan. Right. It is just unbelievable.
And the sidewalk moving like it's a river. And then, you brought up Deepwater Horizon. That's the reason I'm even on the air right now. The very first broadcast I did on BTR, 2010, April 2010, was Deepwater Horizon. And I went on and I did a broadcast about it, and I told my wife, I said, this is not me. I don't want to do this. She said, why? I said, I don't feel like I know what I'm talking about. She said, well, won't you talk about something you love? And I said, well, I love Jesus. She said, well, talk about Jesus. So that's what I've been doing ever since. But I came on the air back in 2010 on BTR just talking about the Deepwater Horizon event. There's something just didn't sit right about the whole thing of it. I've always wondered if it was actually just something happened seismically, geologically that made that happen.
The forces of darkness want to usher in their time on the earth more than anything in the whole world. Imagine this. Albert Pike back in 1871,
Yep.
wrote a letter to Giuseppe Mazzini. It was seen by Bill Cooper in person. He actually flew out to the United Kingdom and saw it in the museum. And in there, he wrote about 3 world wars: 1871, World War I, World War II, and World War III. World War III, in his letter to Mazzini, stated that they were going to basically rally up the Islamic population of the world and bring them against the Christians and the Jews, and ultimately wipe out religion and bring in their own form of religion ultimately, which is Lucifer. Now, I am so totally paraphrasing it. You have to go out and read it. You can type 3 world wars into Google. It'll take you. You can read the actual letter.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is why? What would be his motivation? Why would Albert Pike do that? Because they worship Lucifer. They love him.
Right.
They love him with all their heart. If Christians love Jesus as much as the Satanists
Amen.
love Lucifer, this would
Amen.
be a completely different
Amen.
world. Crying out
Amen.
loud.
Amen.
The
If people just, and people that profess to love Jesus were as adamant about it as those who profess not to love him, that love evil, if they were as zealous about those things as everybody's zealous about their own kind of sexuality or their own kinds of transgenderism or their other kinds of things, if they were so, if Christians, if those who call themselves Christians, and as a matter of fact, Christians one thing and servant of God is something else. Christian has become something that it's not truly a good thing, right? Because this is about being a child of God, a servant of Jesus Christ, or you can be one of those guys that call themselves a Christian. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a Christian, but the world looks at Christianity as bogus because of those who claim to be Christians are bogus.
Well, it's even worse than that. If you think of and I don't want to forget about the Deepwater Horizon comment, but let me finish on the. It's even worse than that. Here's the thing: when you really do get it, and you understand that ultimately this is a war that the Father is in control of, he's using Lucifer ultimately to bring about a predictable end. And he knows, he sees the beginning from the end. Our Father does. So but he keeps Lucifer in a sandbox, and you see this in Job chapter 1. It's very, very clear that our Father is in control. Now, that being said, the forces of darkness do not understand. They think Lucifer is God. They think Adonai is just a pest. They think the Old Testament of the Bible is reversed. So in their secret mysteries, they tell everybody that you just have to substitute Lucifer for Yahweh, the Lord God, Yahweh Elohim. That is really Lucifer, and they flip it upside down. Isaiah 29, they turn everything upside down. Now, but here's the point: they love their God. They want their God to come to the earth and manifest and rule this earth more than Christianity wants Jesus to come for the new millennium. They want him. They want it really, really bad. So what do? They do stuff because they don't know any better, and they don't understand that our Heavenly Father's in control. They don't think that the priest of Baal story in Kings and Elijah and all that is true. They think it's all twisted and upside down. The point is, when they do stuff like they pour this explosive liquid down into the tubes in the Deepwater Horizon, like the guy that called into Coast to Coast AM said, he worked for Halliburton, and he was present, and he actually saw a Halliburton agent or representative that he never saw before, had a Halliburton tag, come into the facility and pour a lot of some kind of a chemical down into the actual drilling shaft the night of the explosion. And he went on live on Coast to Coast AM and told everybody that he saw it. And that night the thing exploded. The next day the thing blew. And so he was absolutely convinced, positively convinced, that Halliburton blew the thing sky high. And we all know what resulted in that. The point is that these beings, these entities, they love Lucifer, they love Satan, they want to bring about the Great Tribulation, they want to bring about their time on the earth.
Right.
More than anything.
That's
they can't wait. And so they do stuff, using HAARP, high frequency active auroral research project, yada, 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 which are several of them all over the world. They do stuff with these ionospheric heaters and different things like this to bring on events. That's why they have, they're running drills in Miami just before an 8.5 earthquake breaks out in Haiti. They know what they're doing.
Right, and they know the harmonics, they know the ley lines, they know the geographics, they know that by putting a particle accelerator in CERN in Spain, or I'm sorry, Geneva, and they know that in essence they've got the same thing in Denver at the Denver airport. Look underneath Denver airport and look at all the tubing and copper wiring and everything. Look, why is it that there is a Teflon roof on top of it? Why is it there are 7 different kinds of granite on the floor in what they call the Grand Hall there, just like a Masonic thing? Why is that? There's something going on in the Mile High City. It's got something to do with CERN. Most, I've got that connection. It's in my book. If I ever publish this thing, believe me. But there is a connection there. There's no reason for them to build a new airport in Denver, first of all.
Oh, did you know? Did you know that the movie back? I think it was written or published in 1983, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yep.
In the teletype, you know about that? The teletype
Yep.
machine goes, and if you type those in as coordinates
Right.
into Google Earth, it's only like I don't know 20 or 30 miles away from the location of the Denver airport, which they didn't start to build until like 1993.
That's right. And these Luciferians, I'm going to get back to this audio. I'm going to play it in a minute that you sent me. But these Luciferian, and that's what I'm going to call them. I'm going to devil worshippers. That whatever they call themselves, that's what ultimately they are. If they don't worship Jesus Christ, then they worship the devil. So
Yep.
These devil worshippers, these Satanists, these Luciferians, Illuminatists, trilaterals, whatever you want to call them, skull and bones, we can go all the way down the line.
Shape-shifting reptilian fallen seraphim is what they are.
But
a lot of the higher upper echelon of them. Yes.
Why they believe in granite? They believe in the power of granite. They know the properties, the electromagnetic properties of granite. So you've got the Georgia Guidestones. You've got the granite floor at Denver. You've got Mount Rushmore that people don't really know about. People don't understand that the Indian, what was it? I don't remember what Indian tribe in the Denver area. They believe that is the center of creation, right there, right outside where the airport is. The Cherokee believed that the center of creation was at the Georgia Guidestones. Another Indian tribe believed that the center of creation was right where Mount Rushmore is. There's a reason that they've done these things out of granite in these places, and I believe it's got a connection to CERN.
Well, it's got a connection to the fact that we're dealing with a vibrational existence in a particle physics universe that has multiple dimensions, and one of these dimensions is the demonic spiritual ether that the Bible refers to as the air, the prince of the air. Okay, it's I don't know, some kind of a dimensional region that exists minimally between where we are here on Earth in this time space and the throne room of God, which none of us can completely get our arms around. But this is mind-blowing. You're absolutely on target with that. It's a vibrational existence. It all tracks back to particle physics, quantum mechanics, all the things that we are understanding now scientifically, and it goes back to the Bible. Listen to this. If you go to the Holy Bible, and I'm sure I brought this up probably on the other show, but I'll briefly mention it again. In Isaiah 13, I'm going to compare this to CERN because you brought up the CERN thing. Listen to this. In a conference, it was actually referred to as the Elenin conference back when Elenin was all the buzz, extinction level event near impact Nibiru. Oh my gosh, Elenin's coming, and everybody's freaking out. Carrie Cassidy and the Project Camelot people went and did what they called an Elenin conference. You had to pay to listen in on it. It had Richard C. Hoagland, Dr. Carl Johan Kalaman, Dr. Joseph Farrell, and some other people as well. Andy, I forget his last name. He wrote The Dark Star, which is the book back in the early 90s that was had some really good information about Nibiru Planet X. But anyway, this is amazing. So I listened to this almost 5-hour Elenin conference, ultimately a recorded Skype conference call that I paid some $35-40 to get. Because I wanted to find out some insider information is what's going on here. And the one tidbit after all those hours of listening and putting toothpicks in my eyes to keep myself from slipping into a coma was at the 4-hour and 37-minute mark. Carrie Cassidy said, they were talking about CERN, and she said, and this blew my mind, that the Queen of England had contributed over $20 billion to the CERN Accelerator project. And she went on to explain that these black slate people that she has communicated with, whistleblowers that are part of the Black Ops teams that come forward over time. She said, and I'm going to quote it, quote, the wingmakers, which are some of these guys, talk about CERN and other black slate technologies that could endanger the Earth's existence with the goal of moving the Earth through time travel